All right, our program today is titled Empowering the Next Generation of Conservationists. Joining us to speak on this topic are Betsy Parker and Virginia WIGGEN from the Aldo Leopold Nature Center. Betsy Parker is the director of the Aldo Leopold Nature Center's NatureNet program. She's got a BS in conservation biology and an MS in human ecology. Her 2 decades of work at the Nature Center are supplemented with work on statewide efforts, including the State Strategic Plan for Environmental Literacy and the Children's Outdoor Heritage Resolution, and on national projects associated with the North American Association for Environmental Education. Virginia WIGGEN is the Director of Education at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center, and she holds a bachelor's degree in biology from Concordia College and completed her graduate work in environmental education at the University of Minnesota, Duluth. She has worked in environmental and outdoor education for nearly 20 years and received the 2016 Administrator of the Year Award from the Wisconsin Association for Environmental Education. We look forward to their presentation, and we've made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way to say thanks for speaking with us today. I also want to mention that we'll have Q&A with our speakers at the end as time allows, but please wait for the microphone if you've got a question. And with that, let's welcome Betsy Parker and Virginia WIGGEN to our podium today. Thank you.
It turns out that we have a problem. This term, nature deficit disorder, has been around for about 15 years, so it's likely that you've heard this before. It's the idea that thanks to several factors that exist in our modern world, children are spending less time in nature and are in fact disconnected from the world around them. Richard Louv, who coined this term, nature deficit disorder, contends that this childhood affliction leads to attention difficulties, obesity, and higher rates of emotional and physical illness in children. And while there are many startling ways that demonstrate the realities of nature deficit disorder, we're going to share just 4 of them with you. The CDC reports that children ages 3 through 14 spend an average of 7.5 hours a day on screens and less than 1 hour outdoors. And newer studies are saying it's maybe even less than 1 hour, like 30 minutes, or sometimes just 5 to 7 minutes of unstructured outdoor playtime. And to put this into perspective, the UN guidelines for prisoners requires, quote, at least 1 hour of suitable exercise in the open air daily. Maybe it's that children aren't allowed to play outdoors. After all, it's dangerous to let them roam around outside by themselves, right? We see this manifested in this generational study, where each successive generation is allowed to free-range play outdoors in a successively smaller and smaller geographical area. The large circle, or sort of circle, shows where the great-grandfather was allowed to play in the entire town and go fishing in the stream outside of town. The smallest circle on the upper left, it's really just a dot, is the son, his generation is relegated to just 300 yards from the front door. But the fact is, it's not more dangerous out there. Statistically, it's safer than ever. The sensationalization of stranger danger and the fact that news media thrives on traumatic events, especially those that are not even in our community, has caused parents to act with an overabundance of caution. There we go. Did you know that the Oxford Junior Dictionary is periodically updated to include what they describe as words that children use in the classroom and words they hear in everyday use? It's a slim volume, just 5,000 words, but what happened a few years back is indicative of a new era, one where words like these were replaced with these. There we go. Oh, not quite. Thanks. The U.S. Department of Interior found that the average American child can identify hundreds of corporate logos, but they can't identify just 10 native plants or animals. Is this a commentary on our commodity and consumer-based social structures, or just a simple impact of not noticing or caring about the world around us? We'd like to share a video clip with you in just a moment, but before we do, we'd like to invite you to take a moment to think about your own youth. Close your eyes if you'd like. Think back to a fond memory of your childhood. Think about where you are and what you're doing. Who's there with you? Are you at a special place that you always like to go to? Maybe think about the sounds that you hear and the feeling on your skin. And now we'll play this video and ask for you to think about whose perspective you most identify with. Oh, here comes our video.
When you were a kid, what did you do for fun?
So we'd go blueberry picking, for instance. That's so cute. But it was true.
We grew watermelons, plantains.
I found an old sign which was big enough for me to sit on and made a great toboggan. It was very slick and very fast.
I had a few fish in my basket, and I looked up on this bluff, and here's this black bear sitting there watching me. If he starts chasing me, I'm going to keep throwing the fish out of my basket until he's gorged and he won't bother me.
And what did you like to do for fun?
You know, you go door to door, get a group of kids, and you play lots of games, hide and seek, just going out to the field and playing baseball.
And we build these massive forts, you know, the kind that you can actually sit in and play in, you know, with our friends. And it was just really wonderful.
So what do you like to do for fun?
Video games, definitely.
I like to go on my phone,
text, some email.
My favorite thing to do in the world is definitely watching videos and playing video games. Those take up so much of my time.
3 hours or 3 to 4 hours a day. Same.
5 hours straight.
Just last week, I watched 23 episodes of a TV series in less than 4 days.
I forget. I'm in a house, I have parents, I have a sister, I have a dog, I just think I'm in the video game, I completely get lost. I would die if I don't have my tablet.
Whenever I feel upset, I'd play video games and I'd feel normal. It's really wonderful.
When your daughters grow up, your great-great-grandkids, what do you think will happen if this trend continues?
It's scary to think that they'll never have to leave the house.
Cindy grew up doing a lot of the things that I did and enjoyed, and I see what my grandsons are doing today, and it's mind-boggling.
By the time they have kids, it's going to be a really different environment.
I actually feel a little sad because I feel like he's missing out on what's out there in the beautiful world.
That special connection with nature, I think it's innate in all children, but needs to be nurtured.
So, we've been talking about the problem, but it's also to talk about why this matters. It matters because nature is good for us. The U.S. Department of Disease Prevention tells us that access to the natural environment, such as green spaces, is an example of a physical determinant of health. And that means that access to nature is as important as access to health care and to education and to economic stability. It's good for our health outcomes. Thousands of research studies now link time spent in nature with a laundry list of health benefits, including stress reduction, a stronger immune system, lower blood pressure, improved concentration, ADHD, symptom prevention, and that's just to name a few. And listen, climate change and other environmental crises demand that people act to protect the earth. And if our youth are not given the time and the opportunity to connect with nature, particularly in their younger years, they are going to grow up and not care about the earth. This lack of connection and empathy for nature is called extinction of experience. And I'd like to read a little excerpt from a research article from Ecology and the Environment. The loss of interaction with nature not only diminishes a wide range of benefits relating to health and well-being, but it also discourages positive emotions, attitudes, and behavior with regard to the environment, implying a cycle of disaffection towards nature. Such serious implications highlight the importance of reconnecting people with nature, as well as focusing research and public policy on addressing and improving awareness of the extinction of experience. All right, so we know we need to reconnect children with nature, but let's take a moment to recognize that we're not just talking about white children. Let's face it, the environmental movement has been historically stewarded by white men. Think Muir and Thoreau. And to that end, the result of feeling pretty unwelcoming to Black and brown people. And let's not forget that by the year 2045, it's predicted the U.S. will be a majority-minority population. So here's what that means. If we engage and activate the youth of today, we inherently mobilize a more diverse population. And it's this diverse population that is so critical to the environmental movement today and moving forward. We need more than the white middle class to act and to care. That means that if we want to empower a future generation of conservationists, we better do it with equity and access in mind. And the good news is that we have a solution. I'm going to turn it over to Virginia.
Thanks, Betsy. Okay. I get to talk about the fun part. So, you may have heard or visited the Aldo Leopold Nature Center in the past. We've been hosting school-age students since 1994 for field trips, family programs, summer camps, and our trails are always open to anyone in our community from dawn to dusk. So come out if you'd like to go for a hike. If you haven't visited recently, we've changed quite a bit in the last several years, with a lot of access and equity in mind. In the fall of 2019, we opened a nature-based preschool. This was in a response to community need for childcare. Little did we know, 6 months into opening, we'd be filling many families' need for childcare during a global pandemic, when everyone wanted to be outside. We switched to an all-outdoors model. We were outside a lot, but even we were napping outside during the pandemic. Many other childcare centers closed their doors, and we remained open for the community and the families that we were serving. Our preschool currently serves 64 children, ages 3 to 5, in full-day and half-day programs. One of our goals was to increase access to nature education and high-quality early child care for all families in our community. To that end, our admission is done via a weighted lottery, with families from disadvantaged circumstances receiving more weight in the lottery. We have a sliding scale tuition model that's based on federal poverty level income levels. And we accept Wisconsin Shares, a child care subsidy program. On top of that, the Aldo Leopold Nature Center gives out about $35,000 annually in scholarships for the preschool alone. We also, just this fall, started an after-school program. This was in response to a community need, again, for after-school care. You may have also heard it as called wraparound care. It's a big need in our community. Did you know the school day ends at 12:55 on Mondays and 2:27 the rest of the days of the week? Many families need care outside of these hours. So we got creative. We received support from a local family foundation to purchase a passenger van. You can see it in the photo there. And we pick up students daily from school and bring them to the Nature Center. Students participate in enrichment activities, homework support as needed, and just spending time outside after a busy day at school. We currently work with 2 Title I schools in the Madison Metropolitan School District, Henderson Elementary and Nuestro Mundo Elementary. Have any of you attended a program called Wonder Bugs with a grandchild? Oh, look at it. I see some hands. Great. This is a caregiver and child program that creates experiences for families with young children to learn jointly in nature. We offer this program at the Aldo Leopold Nature Center and have about 45 families a week that attend this program. In 2016, we started a partnership with the Madison Metropolitan School District's Play and Learn program, which is a similar caregiver-child model for children ages birth to 3 that may not have access to other opportunities. We now visit 14 of those sites that are held in community centers throughout Madison, bringing nature and songs and learning to them once a month for those 14 sites. Summer camp, we have a lot of summer campers. It's one of those times of year when people may need care for children also outside of the school day, so it fills a need. We serve about 100 children per week, doing probably a lot of the same things that many of you remember growing up from your childhood, outside playing, exploring, catching frogs, building forts. And admission to that program is similar to the preschool that we do with a weighted lottery. So we don't think that people should have to get online at midnight and click as fast as they can to register their child for a program. So we're trying to give some grace and time in that process. I'm going to let Betsy tell you about one of our summer campers. Just a quick story.
We use the story of this young man, Malcolm, as a case study for our work. He and his family came to the Nature Center when he was just 7 years old. Malcolm had been diagnosed at an early age with autism and ADHD, and many of his previous daycare centers were not adequately able to provide for his behavioral challenges. He moved around a lot until he came to the Nature Center. While he wasn't exactly keen on nature when he first arrived, with time, patience, and care from our staff, this child began to enjoy spending time at summer camp. And he came back every summer until he aged out. And then he also joined the Nature Center's Pandemic Response Nature School program. We'd like to share with you what his family shared with us. His mother says, "We started to see change almost immediately. His enthusiasm really picked up as a result of the care he received by the naturalists and the curriculum. It was great to see him becoming a member of a peer group where he developed friends that will last his lifetime." And unprompted from his grandparents, we noticed that our grandchild is getting stronger physically and growing emotionally and cognitively. His interpersonal skills have greatly improved. His anxiety level is way down, and he has fewer behavior issues than before. When schools went virtual as a result of the coronavirus mandates, he struggled mightily with virtual learning. It's very hard for him to concentrate in front of a screen. Enrolling him in the Nature Center's program was a light in the darkness. And lastly, his father told us, the first day of snow this season, he surprised us by wanting to go outside by himself to play. He built a snowman, and while gazing up at the sky with a smile on his face, a snow angel. All this from a boy who never wanted to play outside before. Do you all do this? We wanted to leave you with some uplifting images of the youth of today. These are the children we interact with throughout the year. We imagine, we hope, their experiences remind you of the images you just manifested of your own youth a few moments ago.
nature is for everyone, and nature cannot be this. Maybe people don't like nature, but they maybe change a little bit and maybe feel like they feel welcome to nature, and nature is really welcome to people, not because of your skin or color or something like that, but nature is for everyone.
So, we just wanted to say thank you for hosting us today in celebration of Earth Week, and thank you for the good work that Rotary does in our community. Also want to say thank you to our staff at the Nature Center, who are really the people that are not here in front of you sharing all this information, but are doing the things that you saw in the pictures and the great work there. And Trip. Trip is on our board. Sorry, I'm used to doing this in front of much smaller people. So thank you again so much for having us. If people have questions, we're happy to take questions also.
Hey, Jeremiah. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and we definitely, like per the beginning of your presentation, she feels a lot of pressure from neighbors and other friends to be signing up for social media and spending time on screens. Are you aware of any groups of parents or other community members who gather together and share resources around how to resist that kind of pressure together?
That's a great question. I have heard of a group called Hike It Baby, and that is open to people with children of any age, but it is a generally Facebook group where they announce today we're getting together, we're going on this hike, and it's designed to be hikes for any level of ability and skill. So that might be a place to start. Do you know of any other resources?
Well, I was just going to say, I know a lot of parents have forged some alliances with other families that their children are friends with, making, we're not going to do these 5 things until set an age, and then it's hard to do because you can't get everyone on board, but so it's not like, well, so-and-so has it and I don't. So just making sure nobody does it till a certain time, if you can. That's the best resource I have. I think every parent struggles with that.
Hi, I'm Karen, and I love the Aldo Leopold Nature Center and their Yule festivals and their Green Man. The logistics of getting our grandkids there didn't work when they were little. You're off kind of in a corner of Madison. There are lots of kids in the city who are undertreed because of the neighborhoods they lived in. What are you doing to bring what you do at the center to others? Or who else is doing that if you can't?
That's actually a great question, and one that we ourselves have been asking during our strategic planning process. So that is a process that we're going through right now, and we are listening to our staff and our community members, and that is something that has come to light, is maybe we need something that reaches out into the community rather than asking the community to come to us. And I think that is a notion that speaks to the environmental movement as a whole. Instead of us saying, hey, you're welcome to join our movement, maybe we need to be out in the community in a different way to share that message. So stay tuned, because one of the ideas that has come to light that is a possibility is another passenger van. We've also talked about something similar to the art cart, where we would have a nature mobile cart that would go out into community parks. But to be determined, and thanks for your thoughts on that.
I'll also share that, a step in that direction was going to all those community centers that we are going to for the Wonder Bugs. We call it Wonder Bugs on the road. So we pack up that van in with a lot of supplies, and I think are really working with those families to say nature is, not a lot of those sites have a ton of, 20 acres of green space, but we can go with 2- and 3-year-olds, we can look right outside in the grass and find lots of things out there too. So, yeah, coupled with what Betsy said.
What county are you in, or what is the nearest town?
So we're in Dane County, and we're technically in Monona, but right off the belt line on Monona Drive, so very close to Madison.
Hi, I'm Joan Ballweg. Just kind of curious, do you allow cell phones at the camps?
Yes, and Pokemon cards, all of those. We generally have, no. Yes, with privilege or reason from, we have some students that use it, like that monitor their blood sugar via their phone for diabetes or things like that, that we do allow, obviously, that as a tool, but otherwise, no. Like it's put in a backpack for the day. Yeah. Great question.
I have a question, since I'm holding my, since technology is not going to go away, cell phones aren't going to go away, and you say you're in the middle of a strategic plan and stuff, so how can you use technology to your advantage so that there are apps and there's information to send to the kids that can drive them to get outside?
That is a great question, because I think, if you know how to use the stuff that kids know how to do, they're more into things. And they all know how to use a phone. So even the 4-year-olds know how to use a phone, even if they're not calling people. So I think we do have iPads that we use for a variety of things, or some of our staff will use the phone. I think just building a connection with something that's familiar for a child in their world. We've used eBird. When we see a bird, we say, oh, let's enter it in eBird. And so we show them how to do that. So that's something they can also do on their own. There's also an app that we use sometimes if we don't know what something is, because I think that's empowering for kids to say, like, I don't know what every plant is, but there's a Seek app that you can take a picture of it and it'll tell you what it is. Yeah, some of you have it. So, and saying, I don't know what that is, but let's look together, and then pulling out, I think keeping change with the times, I use that instead of using a field guide now too sometimes. So just making sure that's what kids are going to do growing up and utilizing those resources. Or let's take a picture of it and go back and look it up in a book too. Just making sure it's a tool, and it's a really powerful tool that we can use for learning too. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, one of my programs provides grant funding for teachers, and one group of students bought digital cameras, not very expensive ones, but they did nature photography with that digital tool. So I know that creative teachers are doing things like that with technology too.
What is your upper age limit? I'm thinking of the generation of college or post-college young adults who are still in the screen, didn't get to do the, and still living with mom and dad, but didn't get to pull down the fence and toboggan down the hill type of thing. Do you have something that the aunts can encourage them to get out there and do that?
Yeah, so at the Nature Center, we do focus our programming for pre-K through age 14. So we are, but with intention, missing that gap because we decided that we couldn't be good at everything. We needed to focus in on what we were good at, and that is that age range there. So there's other ways to engage. We do have a junior naturalist program, and we have interns that work. So oftentimes it's summer campers like Malcolm, who came through as summer campers and then stay on to be an intern of some sort or a junior naturalist. And then we also have other organizations that we feel we can partner with, and Aldo Leopold Foundation is a great example where they really are focusing on the college and adult age education. So I think there's a couple avenues of engaging with older youth in a different way, but also sharing and spreading the word amongst our partner organizations.
Awesome. Thank you, Betsy. Thank you, Virginia. Appreciate your time here today and letting us know a little bit more about this treasure in Monona that I'm familiar with. It's just an amazing space, and if you get a chance to go out and hike there and just see the kids and the interaction, it's an incredible place. So thank you, Mike, too. Appreciate that. And Trip. Don't forget Trip. All right. I want to say thanks to everybody who attended today's meeting. We appreciate you coming out today. And I hope that you'll join us next week for our annual Rotary Youth Awards program, where we meet 48 students who are receiving our Rotary Youth Awards. It's always a great Wednesday program, so I hope you come out for that. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.